parable, several in fact, of course, but particularly a series of parables in Matthew chapter 25. In the parable of the talents, as is described in verses 14 down to 30, Jesus relates life on earth, our Christianity, to being in charge of different responsibilities. Back in that day and time, the word talent was a word that was used to describe a sum of money. So when you talk about it being the parable of the talents, it's the amount of money that was given to a person as a responsibility. Kind of coincidentally, each person was given a certain amount of money according to the ability or the talent that he had. And so one guy got a whole lot because God gave him a lot of talents. And one guy got an average amount, I guess you can say, but still got some amount, and he had some talent. And then there was one fellow, as we all probably heard, that had one talent, one ability also, and so he got just one sum of money, or one talent of money. As the parable develops, and the master eventually, when he goes away, he comes back, and he calls each one of these servants to talk to them, to see how well they've done with the gifts that God has given to them, paralleling it the way Jesus intends it to be. Now, there's a passage that Paul talks about, I think, that relates real well with this. But before I read that, I need some help up here. And so, Katie, can you come up here just a second? And most of y'all know what these bags are up here. What is this bag here? It's what? Brown bag. Well, she's real bright. What's usually inside these brown bags that are here? What are they called? Blessing bags, because there's an assortment of things in here. Now, if I were to give you this, I'd take it, and ask you to keep that for a month or so, you reckon you could find it in a month from now in your room? Possibly? Maybe. Okay, that's kind of what I thought. Now, if I were to hand you $100, do you think you could find that in a month? I doubt it, because it'd probably be spent. So I'm not going to give it to you either. But what I'm talking about are the differences between gifts. Okay? And obviously I just snatched this one from next to the podium. And it has kind of weighty, so it probably has some canned foods in it and all that. She can find all that at home. It's not much of a gift, and she's liable to lose it pretty soon. So she won't be responsible about keeping up with it. Go ahead, you did a good job. Thank you. Now here's the point. The man that was given that one sum of money didn't appreciate what he was given. And so, consequently, as Jesus tells the parable, he describes the person that did nothing with it, he did keep up with it. Actually, buried it and found it and dug it back up and gave it back to the master. But he did nothing with it. It meant nothing to him. Paul, when he's writing to young Timothy, talks about gifts. Verse 12, he says, don't let anybody despise your youth. Okay, so Timothy's a young guy. Maybe not as young as Katie, but maybe sharper than Katie. I don't know. We'll all see that. But he was to be an example, and it lists things that he was to do for people. And then Paul says in verse 14, this word, or these words, do not neglect the gift that was given you. Now, the one that he received was some prophetic gift because they had miracles back in that day. But nonetheless, each one of us is handed a bag of gifts from God. Abilities that we have. And combining that with the thought of Jesus and the parable, we're supposed to do something with that. We're supposed to develop and get something out of it. We're not supposed to neglect it at all. Now, here's the interesting thing. It wasn't that Paul was concerned about Timothy just throwing it away. But he says, just don't neglect it. You see, that's the sad part, I guess, about education too, but especially about Christianity. The abilities that people have to do so much for God, and it goes neglected, unused, unappreciated, stuck in a corner somewhere in your room, you might say, because it didn't seem to be that important. So look around, because this is a church full of talents. And God has given each one of us a large amount of talents. And the words that Paul says to young Timothy are for us. Do not neglect the gift that was given you. Someday we'll all stand before the judgment seat. And you'll look at God and you'll be called into account. This is what Jesus was telling in the parable. And what he wants to be able to say to you is, well done, good and faithful servant. Not extraordinary, just faithful. That's what he's after. Keep at it. Don't neglect your gift. God's given you much. Just return back for him those things. So as we close this lesson of encouragement, I'll ask a question about your personal life. Not that I need to know it, but you need to know if it's right or not. And if it's not right with God, it can be. It's a bit embarrassing to step out and come down front and ask for forgiveness. If you need to do that, it's best to do that tonight and not keep putting it off. And especially if you've never committed to Christ in baptism. Yeah, everybody be watching. It's one of the most phenomenal things you could ever do in your life. It's been years ago when I did it, but I remember every moment of it. And I put it off way too long. Don't put it off. Are you a Christian? Are you serving him faithfully? Are you neglecting gifts? And if you're not, good. If you are, get it right. And if it's something that needs to be done publicly, we're here to help you. Would you come while we stand and sing?